Thank you for listening to the Content Magazine podcast, Conversations with Silicon Valley's Creatives. I'm Daniel Garcia, your host and the cultivator of Content Magazine, published by SV Creates. This episode of the Content Magazine podcast is brought to you by Bonfire, a Silicon Valley digital agency building elevated websites for ambitious brands. Find out more about Bonfire at bonfire.com.
Today we talk with Haley Cardamon. She's the founder of San José Day.
Just you.
All right, we're here to
Take
talk
one.
about San Jose Day. Take one.
Awesome.
Is that good?
Cool. That's great. So, Haley, thank you for being on the Content podcast, and I'm excited because you're the first one to be in our new studio setup.
Thank you for having me.
No problem. I haven't seen you actually in a while. I mean,
Probably
maybe in
like
passing,
5
but
months, yeah.
yeah, right. But it seems like I used to see you, even if you go back to
Yeah.
like 2018 or something like that. It seemed like I used to see you all the time.
Yeah.
But I want to, so like you kind of just started to show up on the scene, like the creative scene, right?
Yeah.
And you started the magazine,
Yeah.
the B.A.C.K, Bay Area Creative
Creatives
Klub.
Club with a K.
That's right, Club with
Yep.
a K, that's right. So how did that all come about? And I know, like, because like you kind of work into art and graffiti
Yeah.
and a little bit of a ruffian
Yes.
growing up.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
So I started the magazine in 2017, but if we back up, kind of like what got me into the art scene in general was in the 2008 recession, my parents lost our home. So we were homeless and we moved into Cannery Park, just there off Taylor Street.
Yeah,
And so
yeah.
my dad had a fabrication and fastener business, and we moved into his warehouse.
Oh,
and
wow,
so
I
in
didn't know
that
that.
same parking lot was like Breezy, Excursion,
Yeah.
Booger Kids,
Yeah.
the lowrider bikes. I'm blanking on their names
Oh, yeah,
right now.
Pop Fabrication.
Shorty Fatz.
Oh, Shorty Fatz, yeah.
So they're all there in that parking lot,
Yeah.
and I was there like in the windows being.
How old were you about then at that time?
I was in 6th grade.
Okay,
Had
yeah.
just went into 6th grade,
Yeah.
so I don't know, 13 or 14, just kind of like
yeah.
observing, and that was my introduction into being into downtown.
Yeah.
And downtown was a very different place at that time too.
Yeah.
So then I kind of started to notice graffiti art a lot more, and
Had you kind of before that time, had you been kind of interested in art and graffiti stuff? Or?
yeah, in graffiti in middle school, I actually got expelled from my middle school for graffiti, which we don't need to get into that story, but yeah, I was definitely very aware of it at a young age, and yeah, so as I got older in high school, I took a photography class, was like really interested into photographing graffiti and architecture specifically, and
cool.
when I went to Anza College, I took a mass media journalism class, and we had one section that was focused on print media.
Yeah.
And our teacher gave us an assignment to create some kind of like media. And so I was
Yeah.
like, I think I should create an art magazine that's like with photography and tell stories of underground artists. And
Yeah.
then the more that I developed this project, I was like, I want to do this. I want to quit school.
Yeah.
And I had told my professor, and she was like, you should do that. And so I did. And I
Yeah.
did. And I lied to everyone for quite a while that I was going to school, but I actually wasn't, because at the time I was still living with my parents.
Yeah, yeah.
So anytime anybody was like, yeah, I'm going to school,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I really wasn't.
So
I
you had
would-
already dropped out from like Anza to start doing the
Yeah.
B.
Yeah.
You call it just
B.A.C.K.
back
magazine.
Back, yeah.
Yeah.
Right? And that's like what? That's like 2017, 2018
That was
ish or whatever.
2017. Yeah,
2017.
we first released the first magazine in, I think, December. So far away now, it's kind of hard for me to remember.
I know,
but
right?
but yeah, so the inspiration behind B.A.C.K. magazine was, how can I use my photography and my interest to just talk with people and
Yeah.
kind of like dive a little bit deeper into writing and interviewing people. So
Yeah.
the first magazine, I interviewed artists from San Jose, from Oakland, from San Francisco.
Yeah.
And my goal was to highlight like the underground culture, to take pictures of graffiti and put that in the magazine, because
Yeah.
I was like exploring like tunnels
Yeah,
that are
right.
like underneath San Jose, and
Yeah.
nobody knows about these things, and to me it was just like this whole other world that was so amazing that I wanted to share. And it grew, and for 3 years I produced 3 magazines, each kind of like with a different theme, and so
Yeah, and then that kind of then led you to do 408 Day, right?
Yeah.
Because you were doing the magazine when you kind of first launched that, and was the first one over at like where San Jose?
It was at Local Color.
Oh, it was at Local Color.
Yeah. So when I had
the one on First Street, the original one in the old Ross.
The original location in the old Ross. Yeah. So kind of simultaneously at that time.
Which is kind of funny because we talk about this stuff like it's ancient history now.
It feels like
I know because of the COVIDs.
Yeah.
Right? It kind of made it. Yeah.
I mean, it really feels like that. That giant gap like makes it so hard for me to remember.
Yeah, totally.
All that time, and because it's such a different time than now. But so at the same time, when I'm like doing San Jose Day, I'm interviewing people, I'm getting more connected in the San Jose art community. I come across Local Color, and I'm like, wow, this place, this organization is amazing, and I want to be a part of it. And so I started coming into Local Color all the time when they weren't closed. And so they used to have the sliding glass doors closed but not locked.
You just
and
push them
I
open.
would just
And then they had the gate down just a little bit.
Just a little bit. But I would peek my head in. Hey, y'all, what are you guys doing? Yeah. And I would just come, and I started volunteering. So anyway, 408 Day, the inspiration. When I interviewed the San Francisco native rapper Equipto, he does an event called 415 Day. And his event is more like grassroots, centered around advocating against gentrification and preserving the San Francisco native culture. And I was super inspired by him when I interviewed him. Sat down with him for like 3 hours in San Francisco and had amazing conversation with him. And when I came back to San Jose, I was just chatting with a mentor of mine, and I was like, this 415 Day, like 408, like is there such a thing? It's like, no, you should do it. And I was like, that's in 2 weeks from now. He's like, yeah, you should do it. Like, you know people at Local Color, like go see if they'll let you do it there. And at this time I had never done an event before. I didn't even know how to use spreadsheets, like nothing. I didn't know anything. So
well, because you dropped out of school.
Yeah, no, exactly. And so Local Color was open, and at the time they were kind of like teaching people how to do event production. So I sat down with them, and they're like, here are the things that you need to do, and you can host it here. So we did 35 visual artists and 5 performing artists, and a few vendors that were featured in our magazine. So that was the start of San Jose Day, and at the time we were calling it 408 Day.
Right.
Yeah. So that was the first one.
Yeah, that's cool. And then so now you're doing it. It's coming up again on 4/8, of course.
408.
And this is number what, 5?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so of course in COVID there had to be ceased just a little bit, of course.
I don't count the years that we didn't celebrate. And so in 2020, fast forward to 2020.
Well, then even before that though, like so you poked your nose into Local Color, but then you started to work for them as well, right?
Yeah.
You were like on staff for
So
a bit.
I started volunteering with them for their events.
Yeah.
And so it was like moving all the 100 couches they had at the time for every different event. I worked the bar, sold tickets, worked the door, starting as a volunteer, and then eventually was like working like part-time for event coordination, and just like slowly was like asking for more work, really had the drive to learn more. And so eventually I went from being a volunteer that was pushing couches and mopping the floor and buffing the walls to managing the first project, 100 Block.
Yeah, which is right out here, the murals. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So that was like a really steady progression with them, and I do tribute to like a lot of the things that I learned like to Local Color, and I feel like that was much more fruitful to me than going to school.
Totally. Well, that's the thing. I mean, like, to tell you the truth, like, I feel like you kind of represent like the San Jose vibe in a way of where like even me, like starting the magazine, like it's like I have no experience to do it, but this is like a place where you can like, hey, I want to get involved. How do I get involved?
Yeah.
And that's like you, like all of a sudden you started showing up, and then you're like at this, and you're like at that, and then you're doing this, and then and so now you've worked at like 10 different arts organizations. SV Creates for a minute.
So I mean, in like my formative time, my goal was to meet as many people and work with as many people as possible. So in 2017, when I had quit school and I was starting to do the magazine, I was looking for mentorship to kind of replace school. And I found that through so many different people, like Phil Maresca with Philco, Abraham Minor, he's a photographer, they all, provided a lot of help with different things, like learning how to communicate with people, connecting me with people, teaching me how to use Illustrator and InDesign, and local color as well, teaching me how to organize. So in that time, I worked so many different jobs, did a lot of free work. I didn't care. I didn't care if I was making money or not. It just like the experience was so valuable to me. And
what was in that particular time? Even what was like kind of like your end goal? Like you started to network and get to know people and build relationships and do stuff. But what were you thinking? Like what was the long term?
I didn't think that I was ever going to like launch a magazine company. That wasn't my goal. I really wanted to start a creative agency as being a connector point. Sure. And I think that's kind of been a quality of myself always. It's just like, I feel like I'm a person that loves to connect with people. And so I saw myself as like, well, I know all these different people. And if this person needs help, I might be able to connect them with someone else. And that was my goal at the time. And that's kind of why I was like, I need to continue to network, but also to build a strong reputation and rapport with the community here, because I'm just this young person, like nobody knows who I am. I have no work to show for myself, so I need to like prove myself by putting in the work and volunteering and doing all these different like mentorship type things.
But now you're like, I mean, you're super connected. I mean, you're like part of the creative fabric scene.
But I mean, it was really like the hard work that I put into it. Totally. So I am proud to say that like I have done a lot in this community, and I do feel like a community facilitator and a leader in a sense, even though I'm not like very old. I'm only 25, but I put in the work, you know, and I know that, and I'm proud of that.
Yeah, you should be.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I've noticed that. I mean, like, that was kind of cool. And that's what I was saying is, like, I feel like that's a little bit of the creative scene in San Jose.
Yeah.
It's people come in, and it's not because, like, people have, like, necessarily, like, a long-term goal of, like, I want to be a rich whatever. Yeah. Right? It's just like, oh, I want to be involved and help make things better. Yeah. Right? And I feel like that's you've done that. But now, actually, so now, you have... did you get hired by Gensler or something like that?
So
was that through Ben Henderson connection or anything like that?
No, it wasn't through Ben Henderson.
And what are you doing? And tell me about that. And then we'll get to this coming up.
So let's back up to 2021. I had been with Local Color for 4.5 years and was feeling ready for change. I've been financially struggling for quite a while, and just living in San Jose, it's a part of it here. Totally. You know, like every month you're scraping the bottom of your bank account just to survive, and it really broke me down. And I feel like I was like so far away from my own person that I was like in survival mode. Yeah. I was like, I need to make a change, and I don't know. I kind of made a drastic choice to say, it's time for me to go. Yeah. And so... because you kind of, for me even, and COVID was it, but I kind of felt like, you kind of like disappeared. Yeah. And then I did see something, and you were like in a van traveling in Colorado or something weird like that. So tell me about what... Yeah. So you were kind of like... So the hustle and the connecting is like super cool, rewarding, great experience, but it's tiring. It is very exhausting, and also curating San Jose Day. It's like it's a lot of pressure on me, and because it's like San Jose Day, like this event represents the culture of San Jose, and maybe some might not understand the pressure behind that, but to me, it's like this event does represent San Jose. Yeah. I want to do justice to San Jose. Totally. I want this to be, me paying homage to San Jose and like coming correct as best as I can. And so trying to be inclusive, trying to tap into all of the different, like subcultures and all of that, and trying to make it affordable and free for everyone. It's difficult. Yeah. Totally. So in 2020, before the pandemic, we were set to have like the biggest event yet, with a fashion show and all these new things, and then the pandemic happened, so had to switch gears, bring it to an online art show. And even at that time, I was getting a lot of like criticism from community members for not like doing enough, or I don't fully understand at this point. And criticism on 408 or the people that you were bringing together, just kind of like the programming in general is like how I perceive it at this point. And so I think just with all of the weird haters out there, and you know what I mean. You just, as an organizer, as a creative person, like you have to know that criticism is always going to come your way regardless of how much you try to do your best. But, you know, at that time, I feel like I had like a weaker bone for that type of stuff. But I feel like at this point, I feel much stronger and more confident in myself that any criticism that does come my way, it's like I know who I am at the end of the day, and I know that like I'm honestly putting my best foot forward, and I will stand on that. And
was it that time that you kind of
so
took a break,
so when then the pandemic happened, like I was really exhausted and having like a hard time like staying up with local color and trying to figure out like how are we relevant in this time, and then switching with San Jose Day online and all this stuff. And you know, I went through a lot of like personal traumas also, and I feel like I sabotaged myself a little bit. I mean, I not really have shared this with many people, but I sabotaged myself and like deleted like all San Jose Day files.
Yeah. Okay.
And so
because you were kind of like you were burnt and you just kind of gave up and just had to like purge it out.
That's like definitely don't recommend. And when I look back on it, it's like I can't believe I did that. And
I guess like emotionally, right? I mean, you wanted to like I need to cut this off, right? Yeah.
So not great, but and it definitely has like hurt me here in the future with not being able to like access like information that I created and files that I created.
You built it one time, you can build it again.
I know.
And you can build it better because you have all that other experience, right?
So taking that into account with the whole entire pandemic of just like the pandemic, the social uprising, everything's like I feel like we as community leaders were trying to like hold space and care for our community, but it came at a cost for my own personal well-being, and it really did like wear on me. And it was like in the summertime of 2021, I was camping and I was like laying in a rock under the sun naked, and just I was like, you know what, I think I need to move on. This feeling I have now, like being here in nature and like just feeling like the truest version of myself, like is telling me it's time to take a break. And so I gave Local Color like 6.5 months notice that I was going to be taking off, and I wanted to set the organization up for success beyond my departure. And so we did a lot of work to prepare for me to leave. We hired a new person, Jessica, who was amazing. She's like the most perfect person for that role. We trained her, and I sublet my apartment, and I left, and I went to Stockton where my mom lives. She recently bought a house out there. And then I went on a 3-week road trip to Nevada, Utah, Colorado, back to Utah, to Arizona, Southern California, and then back home.
Yeah,
and that was amazing. I did half of the trip by myself with my dog, and went and visited my cousin, visited family in all those states. And
so that was kind of like a cleansing breath time. What was it like though, traveling alone? I mean, because that's kind of...
It was really scary, to be honest. It was like really amazing. Like I had many moments of like joy, and also just processing everything that I had been through. And also being really scared, being in the state of the world with COVID and with all of like the politics that were happening in that time, and even still now. But like being a woman, white passing with California plates in all of these other states. Like anytime I got out at a gas station, I was like really fearful of my life. Like every single time, because people are like looking at you.
California does but fruits and nuts from out there.
Totally.
That kind of thing.
Totally. So I definitely think like traveling alone, like it definitely held me back from doing certain things, but I also like pushed myself to my my limit and my boundary of like exploring, you know, like off-roading by myself in the snow.
Yeah, cool. Right.
But it was great. It was a really amazing trip. And when I came back, I went to Stockton and stayed in Stockton with my mom for a while, and really got just like a taste of that like small town, quiet town, nothing happening there. And I hated it. I loved it.
There's actually a little bit of an art scene going on in Stockton.
Yeah, there is. My mom actually lives right by the Miracle Mile where a lot of stuff is happening. And they're trying to do stuff out there, but it's definitely not like San Jose.
Yeah, totally.
And so being out there made me really miss and appreciate San Jose a lot more. And I feel like I needed that disconnection to feel reconnected.
Totally.
And so I came back to San Jose and just kind of just been taking my time, you know, getting my feet wet and starting to just do like independent contractor work with with different organizations doing project work. I started cleaning houses to make money. You know, I have a friend who like paints houses and stuff, and he said, yeah, like you can come work for me, make cash. And so did that for a while, help, you know, hold me down and pay my bills. But I definitely did like rack up a lot of credit card debt in my time, just trying to take care of myself, honestly. Just
those
like,
Denny's and IHOP bills for traveling.
So then I started working for SV Creates for a short time as a part-time gig, and ultimately I feel like it wasn't the best fit for me and what I was really looking for. And in my time of being unemployed for 8 months, I was, you know, really looking to step into the corporate world because I want to make corporate money. You know, that's feel like it's my only option to live here in San Jose. But I had my checklist of what I needed for it to be the right choice. And so during every interview, it wasn't just an interview of me, I'm interviewing them too. And I would always ask at the end of my interview, do you support your employees to have outside creative endeavors? And like the responses that I received from a lot of these companies were like, they would just be like, what do you mean?
You don't have any time for that. We own you.
I had one gentleman say, oh, no, he's like, we need you to focus on the corporate sales. I was like, okay, thank you. This is not, no thanks. Brian from Genzer had reached out to me, and you know, we had met many years ago doing a local color project, and he's also just like huge into like San Jose downtown culture, and we would run into them at shows and you know, at the bars and stuff. And so we became friends and didn't chat very much during the pandemic, but he had sent me over this role for workplace experience coordinator, and it was like everything that I wanted in a role was to be creative, to work with people, and to curate events.
And then it's the workspace, and so it's for the internal for the employees in order to give them a better kind of like life and experience
in the office. So it's kind of part of the like bringing people back to work. And so my role is just about cultivating culture in the workplace, and so I get to work with a lot of the staff on creating cultural events and client events and stuff. So it's awesome. I love it. I absolutely love it. I feel very grateful every day that I go into work that me, like everything that I've been through and the person that I am is like here at Gensler, like one of the biggest architecture firms in the whole freaking world.
And like, they're a great company too, like because they understand creativity because there's so many designers, and like and Brian is so great. Brian Corbett is his last name for those people out there. And you could listen to him on our podcast a couple of years ago.
And Corinda Wong as well.
With the Los Altos State Street.
So they're my directors, but I do feel like I'm able to express my creativity a lot there, and I feel very supported, and I also feel very valued. And that was one thing in the interview process with these corporations where I felt like they didn't value all of the experience that I had as like independent creator with my magazine, with San Jose Day, working in nonprofit. I feel like they looked at that like
they wanted to see more traditional type of stuff.
And I did actually get like a lot of feedback where it's like, well, you don't have a degree. It's like, I know I don't have a degree, but I have 6 years worth of experience, like hustling my ass off. Like, do you realize what it is like to work in a nonprofit? Like when it's like you're trying to do so much with barely anything, like I'm scrappy. You know,
and the skill levels that you learn, you have to become a jack of all trades, right? And then you figure things out, right?
Absolutely.
It was kind of funny because I was talking with this one guy, and he was saying like that is the like more than education. So like the future, like the people that are going to be valuable are those people who can problem solve, creative think, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I love that you bring up jack of all trades, because when I was a kid and I first learned, I remember like my parents like said it one time in the car. I was like, jack of all trades, what does that mean? And they're like, well, you're just like good at everything. And I was like, that's what I want to do. That's what I want to be. I want to be Jack.
You want to be Jack.
And actually,
Haley of all trades.
When I got hired, they did this like fun questionnaire. It was like, what is like your dream job? And I was like, jack of all trades. Like in every lifetime, like I'm a farmer, I'm a firefighter, I'm this, I'm that. Like I want to do everything. I want to be good at everything.
That's cool. Yeah. That's cool. Well, you know, it's kind of funny because you are a person who makes stuff happen, right? You've been doing that, but you're like, but your personality is you're like, you have a very mellowness to you. You know what I mean? So you're tenacious, but you're not like aggressive, like, you know what I mean? Like in a bad way and everything.
Yeah.
And I admired that.
Thank you.
I even actually wanted to, David, who's actually behind the camera right now, I was actually you were one of the people I was thinking about when Kristen was leaving, like, oh, maybe Haley.
Yeah.
Right? Because the magazine experience,
For
you
sure.
connect to the community
Definitely
and stuff.
very compelling to work with Content Magazine, but yeah, I feel like I couldn't pass up this opportunity with Gensler.
Totally. No, that's great.
But so
Are
everything
they hiring?
happens for a
'Cause I'm
reason.
looking
I
for a new
actually don't
gig.
know if they're hiring.
I'm just kidding. Yeah. So, okay, so tell me, so you were on the road trip. You're laying there staring at the sun. What revelation, like Haley, so jack of all trades is one thing, but what else, Haley? Like if you were like stripped down to who Haley is, how would you describe yourself of who you are?
That's an interesting question. I feel like if I think back in that moment when I had that revelation, it was more like the connection to nature and how I felt very pure in that moment. And I've also, like, yoga has always been a big part of my life since I was young. Like, my mom used to come and teach yoga when I was in 1st and 2nd grade in my class. So it's always been a part of my life. And during the pandemic, I got really close with my practice and my spirituality, and just felt like this, like, every day, wake up, go to work, pay your bills, go to sleep, wake up, pay your bills, do it all over again. It was just like, and then the pandemic, you realize a lot of things, like what's important to you in your life. And so with all of that in mind, I was like, I'm not taking care of myself. Like, I'm not good. This lifestyle I'm living is not sustainable, like, for really what I want for myself. And what do I really want for myself? I don't know. I want to have a family. I want to live a chill life. I want to eat healthy food. I want to be outside. I want to be in nature. I don't want to feel like I have to live to work and work to live and live my life for the man. And so that kind of was like the inspiration of, like, it's time to move on. And, you know, sometimes, like, when I look at the journey that I went through, I'm back here in San Jose in the same apartment, living the same life. Right. And
you know, it's funny because I used to play the same, like, I would have different jobs or be in different things, and then I would start to play this kind of like thing. It's like, well, I'm just going to quit. I'm going to run off. And then it would always be like, it always turned out to be almost like with the magazine. It's like, well, then I know that I would just like, I just want to meet people, creative people. I'll do photographies of them, tell their stories. I'm like, I'm at the friggin' same spot that I want to be. It's like, so obviously I need to change the way that I approach it. You know what I mean? And I think everybody has to go through that. A little bit of like the, I don't know, the hero's journey or whatever you want to call it, right? Of like, you start doing stuff that's your interests, but then you have to have this like conflict and resolution.
So being back in the same position kind of where I started, but slightly different, like, made me realize that.
Well, you're different too. I mean, you're in it.
I do definitely feel different. I think that I made like a really like impulsive decision, and that's me. Like, I'm a very impulsive person. Like, when I'm passionate about something, I dive head first, like not knowing like how deep the water is. I just go for it. That's the best way. Yeah, and that's me, and I have no shame for it. Like, I went, and I'm back in the same spot, but I learned a lot about myself, and so I do recognize, like, I'm here back in the same spot, but my goals are still the same. And so this time around, it's like, I need to make a plan. We're not just going to jump ship.
Sure,
So
you know, you got some more, you got experience, some wisdom, some reflection. Do you know what I mean? So you bring that to it. Yeah,
absolutely. So kind of at this point, it's like, I, you know, like I mentioned earlier, like, racked up a lot of debt in that time off. So I finally just paid off my credit cards.
Awesome. Congratulations.
Yes, thank you.
That's awesome.
But now my bank account's empty. So now I'm just really focusing on like reestablishing myself financially and just trying to have more balance. And I definitely do feel like I have that at Gensler, where like being in a nonprofit or a community organization, like, it was like very taxing on me because it's like, it's not just like local color, it's Haley Cardamon. It's like I wear my heart and my professional self on my sleeve, like open for everybody. And it's like anywhere I go, like any side of town, even if I'm at Target shopping, grocery shopping, like you run into people, and I feel like that also was taxing on me.
Yeah.
And I don't want that like heavy responsibility of like being a facilitator. It's like I just want to be like Haley. I want to enjoy the things like instead of leading the things.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where
But
I'm at now.
you're always going to kind of lead though, right? I mean, you're doing another 408 day, right?
I'm doing it right now.
Yeah.
And I have been feeling
You
very
can't
stressed out.
Take
But
the stripes off the tiger or whatever they say.
yeah, I just want to like take a little bit of a step back and just like enjoy being a part of the San Jose community instead of like trying to curate so much in the San Jose community, because there's so many people that are doing things and at this point, like, I don't feel like I have like the same like steam I did before for curation. I love curation, absolutely, but right now, like, just with my personal state and, you know, like meeting my basic needs, like my focus is meeting my basic needs, enjoying my community, like and so working at Genzer, I feel like I have that really healthy boundary of like when I clock out, I can clock out, you know, and that's that. And nobody's pressuring me and I don't feel pressure. Like then when I show up, like I'm really excited to be there, and then and I'm able to like bring in the San Jose community into the
Gensler,
office, which is like so amazing, because all of the years that I've been here doing things, all these connections, like it feels so good to be able to bring those things into this space.
And what's great too is like having someone like you in a corporate kind of environment, a creative kind of thing, that helps the creative community and the artists too, because you bring them in, it's a paying gig for them, and absolutely, that's so cool.
Absolutely. So I'm still like carrying that same like mentality and attitude of like wanting to connect people, but now I'm just in a different position, you know, different place and a different offering than before, which feels like a little bit less pressure. You know, like like when you're in a position where you're like paying a bunch of artists and curating, it's like the weight is so heavy there because you want to be able to please everyone and let everyone be authentic and balancing like all of these things. It's just a lot.
Well, good. I'm good. I'm glad you're in it.
Sorry, I'm being so vague.
No, it's good too. And I feel, and I can see, like, I feel like you're still on the journey, right? I could kind of sense that, right? Because I've had like different big life changes, right? And you still those experiences, you still carry them with you for a long time, even though they're there, but they become less dawn. And I can feel you're kind of still in that kind of healing process.
For sure.
Stuff. But I'm very excited for your journey and where you're at.
Thank you.
But now let's talk about like I got to, you know, we only have so much time I could do on this, but we can hang out and have coffee later. But for this particular 408 day, what's kind of like going to happen? What's kind of the plan? What's kind of the focus that you're bringing? All this experience and everything now is culminated in this one.
So it's going to be on 408 this year, which is really exciting because in past years, like 408 landed on like a Thursday
Tuesday,
or something.
Like, what the heck?
So now it's on a Saturday. So Saturday, April 8th, from 12 to 6, San Jose Day is going to be happening at the Mexican Heritage Plaza. And we're going to have 8 live performances, music performances.
What's some of those performances? Can you reveal them, or is like the contracts are still being signed? I know it's always kind of.
I don't want to give too much away yet, but so many different genres of music, like a lot of like up and coming music, some that may be familiar to people already, some that I never even heard of before, but when I saw them was like, wow, yes, please, super exciting. So going through the curation process, like really did like flame me up of like, yes, like this is why I love this, because I love discovering like talent and just like being surrounded by it's awesome. So 8 live musical performances, a classic car show, about 18 cars.
Nice.
We're working with the Lowrider Council to bring in a bunch of different clubs, 50 plus vendors, all different types of creative vendors, like photo booths. Content's going to be doing a photo booth. We also have like some other independent photographers doing photo booths. And just all different types of vendors, you know, like similar to what you see at our street fairs. Like I love the creativity that comes in a vendor fair, because everybody just really brings their creativity and everybody's so different. And so we tried not to do any like too much overlapping of types of vendors. And then we're also doing a gallery show.
Yeah, that's right.
We have about 50.
16 by 16. And, and Georgia's helping.
Yes, Jada is helping me curate. the gallery show, and he knows what he's doing. So
Yeah.
I really am appreciative and trust his creative eye, because he's a really a great curator and has an amazing connection with the artists here in San Jose.
And he's another guy who kind of like just showed up at Local Color and plopped down and started creating and doing, now like is embedded. Yeah, it's kind of fun.
Jada was definitely one of the first artists in Local Color, and when him and I connected, like we became really close, and we've been close like for as long as we've known each other, pretty much since 2017.
Yeah.
Like
He's
I
such a
definitely
great guy.
consider him to be one of my best friends, and he's taught me a lot about like the art scene, and I feel like I've taught him a lot about organizing and you know, spreadsheets and all that stuff. Like so this year for San Jose Day, I actually have help. Alex Nobody,
right on.
But with Better Than Good Enough, he's helping me out with the content. George is helping me with the branding and the gallery show. And then we also have an arts and culture board this year. So it's 8 individuals that help make the programmatic choices.
Okay, cool.
All of the programming that we have, we did.
So the people that are submitting, they're kind of going through like, hey, is this going to fit to make a curated event with a good experience?
Yeah, so everything was open call. Food trucks, vendors, performing artists, except for the gallery show. That was specifically curated, but George reached out to like 100+ people. So we did this application process. We brought in 8 individuals to review the applications. We all sat down around a big table and we went through 150 applications together, and they made the choices. I sat back and I listened to take notes, you know, host that conversation, but really I tried to choose like a diverse group of facilitators in our community that I really value their perspectives and the work that they do. And so, they trust me and I trust them.
That's fun.
Yeah. It was really fun.
Are there plans then for next year on 408 to do it again? Is this you looking to do an annual, or you want to get through this one and see what happens?
I definitely want to get through this one to see what happens. I think like currently with my current capacity and stress level, I'm like, I don't know. I don't even want to think about tomorrow. Like I'm just thinking about today second by second. But honestly, like big picture, I don't want San Jose Day to die, because it's like, it's really special, you know, like it's not happening in our city. Like we have lots of events that are really similar, but I don't want San Jose to die, and I really would like someone to take it on. And I've been putting it out there. I've been talking with people, like, you know, but so far no takers on, you know, but it can't just be anyone. Like it has to be somebody that I feel like is trustworthy, that has the community's best interest, that's level-headed, like all of those things. And so far, like, the opportunity hasn't presented itself, but I'm hoping that it will, and so we'll see what happens next year.
That's
I
cool.
don't know.
Yeah, that's cool. Then what about for B.A.C.K? Are you going to do another? Do you think you do a print curated thing or anything like that?
No.
It's a tough thing to do.
Yeah, B.A.C.K magazine, you know, ended in 2019, and we did 3, and the intention was really never to create going on, and I had a lot of fun and got to express myself a lot and meet a lot of amazing people through that project. But ultimately that wasn't like where my passions lie. But it was a lot of fun. And right now, like creatively, I really like to take pictures and just do that for me. But no more magazine. I might be making like some stickers or something like creatively for myself.
Well, keep doing the photography. Let me know. Maybe you could, you know,
do
for sure. Photography for
it's a lot of pressure, like
magazine.
to be like hired to do photography, because for me it's really just something that I enjoy, and like I feel like my photography content tends more to be of like nature, and just things that I enjoy, you know. But more recently, like I got my yoga teacher certification, so I really want to dive into that more.
You are a jack of all trades. Photography, organizing, like yoga teacher, painter. Yeah, that's awesome.
Thank you.
That's cool.
So that's kind of what I want to focus on next, is like starting to hold space in the community in that sense.
Yeah, cool. So last thing, what say at De Anza right now, there's an 18, 19-year-old person who's looking to do stuff. What some advice from your experience would you give that person?
I think just to go for it. Like, I mean, it sounds so simple, but like I mentioned earlier, just like diving head in, like I think that the real experience of doing things in the real world is the most valuable thing. And one of my mentors, Abe Minor, kept absorbed, like I mentioned earlier, he told me one time, like, word of mouth and connecting with people in real life is always going to be like the best and tried and true. And so, because I was like upset, like I posted a flyer and nobody came to my show, and he's like, girl, you think people are just going to come because you posted a flyer? Like, you need to go and talk to people. And after that, when I had my magazines, I said, okay, I had a stack of magazines and I walked around Japantown. Do you want to buy a magazine? Can I sell these inside your store? And that's my advice. Go for it. Be real. Be in person. Be boots on the ground, and like actually put in the work it takes to get there. Like the reputation and like connecting with people and network is everything.
Yeah,
and
totally.
that even like translates to me just getting a professional job. Like it wasn't how many corporations I applied to, it was the network. It was the relationship that I had already built, that Brian and Corinda had seen in me because we had worked together before. You know, what they knew of me, that is really what it was.
I think that's key. Like this thing, like that's why I say all life comes down to relationships, right? I mean,
for sure. I mean, with all of like the technology and all these like crazy stuff that we have going on, like it's all, you know, it's great. I'm not very interested in that stuff, but like the real human connections, like that's never going to go away. And so that's where I stay.
Yeah. Cool. Awesome. Well, good. Well, thanks for being here and connecting. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And 408 Day is on 408 2023.
That's where we're at. Yep.
At the Mexican Heritage Plaza from 12 to 6.
12 to 6, and it's going to be free. Everyone is welcome. Families, anyone. I guess one last thing I should leave with is that San Jose Day really is for everyone, and it's really about like showcasing and preserving our culture. And so with San Jose like rapidly changing and so many new people coming and, you know, sadly like a lot of our natives leaving, like I want this to be a space where all can come to like really like see, feel, hear, taste what San Jose is all about and have the opportunity to be a part of it. Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. Good. Well, thank you, Haley. I really appreciate it. We'll talk to you later.
Thanks.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Find out more about San Jose Day on their website at sanjoseday.org and follow on their Instagram at San Jose Day.
Thank you for listening to the Content Magazine podcast. Follow us on social media at Content Mag. Become a member and help us to continue to tell the stories of the South Bay creatives. This episode's music is 408 by Jack Pavlina. Follow him on Spotify and also on his Instagram at Jack Pavlina Music.